an uncompromising gravity EMTB with a similarly uncompromising guest on board.
It's been years in the making, isn't it? I am pumped to finally get on this new one. This linkage is all different and interior now, that's nice.
Are we going to go or what?
No, I'm doing a bike check now. I've got to go through all my bits and then we can do your stuff.
A difficult day on complex tracks, a potential new benchmark bike, an insight into the R&D team, judgment day on some tech rock.
See, now I am nervy. The pressure is on, but this will be easy.
And one person with some seriously unfinished business.
You actually think you can keep up with me down here, do you? A World Cup winner. You actually think that? Is that actually something going through your brain? Is that for real? Are you actually for real? I won a World Cup on a Giant. Have you won a World Cup? Can you ride downhill? You any good at all? Are you? Let's see how close you can get. Ready? Come on then, let's go. Come on then, Jonah, let's go!
The brand new Rain E+, a bike that is simply made for more. Longer travel, longer range, higher power. The 180mm travel bruiser from Giant. A bike then built for brawling in the bike park, a smooth operator in chaotic lands, a pedigree bike from a company that has an immense history when it comes to downhill. Let's start off with the basics then. First of all, the torque, which gives you the ability to climb the steep stuff, now stands at 90 Newton meters. The peak power has been up to 800 watts, which is a lot more than most on the market. The battery, to give you lots of range, 560 in the down tube, with a 280 watt-hour range extender, gives you 840 watt-hours total. The travel, 170, 180, and on the scales, this bike weighs in at 22.3 kilos. But more than anything, a bike with serious downhill capability. Having said that, we've actually taken Giant bikes to some of the remotest places in the world, also to some of the wettest places too. In fact, we've ridden Giant bikes through some seriously deep rivers and driven over Giant batteries. Yet for some, the dream, the desire, is not those faraway summits, but the drop, the closer range places, the clear and present dangers of oncoming rock and route, the free fall to the valley floor. The easiest way to the top, yes, but the hardest way to the bottom. However, with more and more people discovering the fun of aggressive, enduro, adventurous style riding, there are increased expectations of EMTBs able to do this.
The draw to mountain bikes, to me, has always been the downhill part of it. That, to me, is riding a bicycle, really. That everything else only usually leads to a good downhill, right? You're so connected to a bicycle with everything you do. I was in Whistler on my downhill bike last week, you know, and going faster than I have in 20 years and hitting bigger jumps than I have in 20 years. And that feeling, I was buzzing. I'm still buzzing now, like a week later. Like, that was absolutely extraordinary. And it was the thrill, the excitement, the risk. Riding a bicycle as fast as you can, like with gravity helping. Yeah, I think that's why we all ride mountain bikes.
This bike then is designed for places like this, the smash and grab action. I mean, just look at it. And that's because of its shape, its very clear purpose and defined target. Some section.
Really, the first principle in the design of this bike was to make it the best descending e-bike ever. That sounds pretentious and like a lot, but really every time when we needed to make a decision, it was, will this make it a better descending e-bike? And sure, you need to get up the hill, but that was really the first principles, design thinking behind it, is going back every time to that question, is what would make it a better descending bike?
What then are the key elements to this bike that makes it so different? Number one, the suspension design and shock tune. This gives maximum traction in all situations. Plush, active, responsive. The ability, therefore, to generate more speed. 2, the component specification, the fine details, impact resistance on the down tube, a titanium bash guard and custom chain guard. And 3, the materials. This bike is under 23 kilos. That's a lot less than most bikes of this travel.
It's specialist in what it can do. I would say it's maybe not so special in who can ride it or where you can ride it. You know, whether you're pushing boundaries and you're at the pinnacle of capability, or maybe you're not that capable. I think this bike will allow many riders to push their limits.
The feeling of freewheeling on a bike, to me, even if it's down the street, actually is one I'll never get bored of. I love rolling around on a bicycle. In Whistler, I got into some downhill runs and I was blowing and I was hurting and I was still focusing on going fast, and it felt like I was racing, and I enjoyed that pressure of not making a mistake that you don't get when you're just messing about.
Oh, and of course, very importantly, the EMTB system parts. What was it Warner said about e-bikes?
I was going to say what I was going to say, that amazing line I thought of.
Which was what?
That e-biking is the greatest thing to happen to mountain biking since mountain biking.
That's big talk, guys. You almost sound like you know what you're talking about. Wow, some bike, one that has more power and yet less weight than most other bikes of this travel. Very much a bike designed around speed and agility, one that can descend faster than most other EMTBs on the planet.
A lot of buzzwords there, Jonah, but none that apply to you. So I think probably you should step away from the world's fastest descending e-bike. What do you reckon?
Well, before I do step away to the bike, I just want to do one more thing, which is about this bike has also got freedom in mind, and one that, you know, all the independence that an EMTB system allows for. Also, super modular, a great bike for adventure.
Been up Ben Nevis, have you? Know what an adventure is, do you? Have you pushed an e-bike uphill for 7 hours, have you? No? You don't even know what modular is, do you?
I guess we should introduce Rob Warner, very much the voice of downhill, and actually the first ever British person to win a World Cup downhill race.
That's a positive one. Well done, Jonah. Cheers.
It is all positive. Oh, we can cut some of that. I'm not going to do that again. Oh boy. Now, before we get involved in an inevitable roller coaster and arm wrestle with Rob Warner, what makes this bike so special? Well, I actually think that EMTB is going on a similar trajectory to what mountain biking did. For example, we went from mountain biking to downhill, cross country, dual, 4-cross, enduro. I think this bike sits in quite a unique class. In its own class, this bike is all about power, travel, weight and range.
If you want to go out on a bigger, not necessarily a bigger ride, but a downhill line or a section that's further out, that's not at a lift access park or anything like that, yeah, this bike can get you out. And of course, if it's far out, you need to bring a range extender or a spare battery for sure. But it's at the same time, it's light enough that it gets you that premium downhill bike kind of feel and capability.
All over the world, there are some mouth-watering examples of descents, some of the best of which have no lift access, or others only have lift access dictated by a timetable or a season. What we have here is actually a bike of immense capability. On a bike like this, you can ride to the horizon, any horizon, and simply let go.
Every downhill on the planet really is accessible. You can get to it and you can ride it, and that's pretty special, isn't it? Like, we can ride new stuff that you could never do in places that you could never ride before. You know, at the top of a mountain, like, it's cool. It's really cool.
Modularity, it really allows you to bring everything you need and nothing you don't. Like in the sense of a battery, like with 560, you can get pretty far. But of course, if you're riding 2.5, 3, 4 hours, sure, you need double the capacity. With a range extender, you add about half, so you bring what you need and nothing you don't.
So I guess what I'm saying is don't be fooled by the gravity vibe, because the adventure credentials of this bike are very much there. And don't forget, it's actually a new Generation 2 sync drive system on this bike. And hey, even Warner loves adventure.
I love adventure e-biking because that's going to take me places where I would never ever go on foot or on, without an e-motor on a bicycle. It is kind of the ride and I like now. I absolutely love a bike park. I love going fast. I love it in berms and I love jumping. I love it in jumps.
So, I mean, why wouldn't you want a bike that is uncompromising? More ground, more riding, and more bike. For those who don't know, Rob's got a rider with massive off-road two-wheel heritage, not just mountain bikes, but off-road motorcycles as well. But I'll never forget, you're talking surfaces, Sierra Nevada back in the late 90s. There's that shot the FLYIN did of you coming around that left hand there.
Yeah. Front cover on dirt, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
Best cover I ever had.
Was it?
Yeah, or a dirt cover. Unfortunately, the bloke who owned that didn't really like me either, so that was the only one I got.
It's great riding away from timetables and uplifts and just doing your own thing.
Exactly, well, but look where we are. I'm probably riding one of the best descents I've ridden in a long time, you know what I mean? It was just a hidden gem, but that's e-biking for you, isn't it? You do find amazing trails that the only way to access them is either by being fit, forget that, or have an e-bike. Yeah, I like the e-bike.
Now, what I said about more ground, more riding, more bike actually highlights the whole business about lightweight bikes, because a lot of the time, lightweight bikes are designed for lightweight riding. This bike, on the other hand, is a hardline bike. Now, you know the story with the industry. They started making lower torque motors with smaller capacity batteries to make the bike lighter. I think those bikes, well, answers on a postcard from you guys. I think what the industry is now chasing is higher torque bikes that are lighter weight. But there's a few things that you need to consider.
Don't get me wrong, it's a big bike. It's a big hitting bike, it's designed to be. But if you then put like a big 900 watt hours battery or something in it, a big bike tends to also push you basically straight forward into that tree. And that's exactly what we didn't want. We wanted to make sure that when you turn right, the bike actually goes right.
It's a really capable bike, but if you want to pedal up a technical section, it's not a bike that is too big, not too clumsy or too bulky. It's really still very agile to ride.
I think that's the reason of the 560 watt hour battery, and that still allows you a lightweight bike, but also the option to add a range extender or a second battery if you want to go on bigger rides. So you bring nothing that you don't need, but you have that modularity basically built in the bike.
I think this is really the sweet spot for a really capable, big descending e-bike.
The problem with lighter is that so many EMTBs are compromised going downhill, as in really cutting loose downhill. Just think about it, more weight will always lead to more performance. Bigger forks can deal with bigger impacts. Heavier, softer tyres, more grip, less punctures. Larger discs, higher speeds, better stopping power. And heavier wheels, more durability.
This bike, at this weight, it doesn't feel like a heavy, dead e-bike. This feels like, as I thought it would, like I said at the start, it feels like a bicycle. Like it's like more like the normal Rain. Like, you can hop gaps and it doesn't do anything weird, and it's playful, it's responsive, but just because of the weight of it, that lower weight, yeah, you feel it everywhere on it. Yeah, it's cool. I ride for giant bicycles.
So here's a story, you've probably heard of it, but like one of the top junior World Cup riders has put a faster ride down Andorra World Cup track on his 180 track, on his 180mm e-bike, than on his full World Cup downhill bike.
That's not true.
It's totally true. It's totally true.
Is that a fact?
Yeah, it's a fact. Anyway.
What? That's all, what?
Yeah, moving on. More weight actually gives you more performance, doesn't it? Because all those parts are actually heavier parts, but the bike, I guess, it gives you much more performance.
They are, and it's no good like riding a bike like this down while slashing a tire halfway and having to walk it out, or like it needs to be matching to the expectations of or the purpose of the bike and the terrain you're riding in. So you're talking about the largest diameter stanchions on the suspension fork, for example, across the range from top to bottom. So they're all equipped with 38mm stanchions, regardless of the brand or the build spec. In terms of handlebar, for example, we went for a new 35mm rise handlebar on both the more affordable models as well as the top spec that comes with this one-piece integrated bar. And then, of course, brakes are incredibly important when going down. So there's beefy brake specs across every build on this bike.
This bike here, 22 kilos, single crown fork. I mean, that bike's slack, big, it's a downhill rig. To me, you can adventure on that bike, you can go to the bike park. We are really, really getting to a bike that will do everything for most people. Do you know what I mean? I'm lucky I got all these bikes, but that will do it all.
The Reign E Plus has all those things, but then again, those parts can be bolted to any EMTB. The thing with a gravity bike, it has to have such things as good suspension design. So I spoke to Feder about the design of Maestro. Why can't someone just bolt a 180mm fork onto an e-bike? And surely they can just do that and you've got a downhill bike, right?
Oh yeah, you can. I won't recommend it though, because it has to be like a complete system. It's not just a fork, it's the system. So it's the fork, it's the rear suspension, it's the components, it's the geometry, but also how the suspension functions. So yes, we have this 180 fork, but we also have a 170mm rear travel, which is really paired together as a system. The main purpose of suspension is to give traction and control, so you can generate as much speed as you can. So you can just go all out.
It's really pleasing to see the evolution of the Reign E Plus. I mean, this is a bike which I raced at world level events a few years ago, 75 kilometers and 12 stages in one day. But I think this is very much, like I said, an evolution of that breed.
So Maestro has been already developed 20 years ago, and it has been evolved and evolved over these years. It's been on our World Cup downhill bikes, our enduro bikes, other trail bikes, of course. And this is another new update of Maestro. So it's really predictable. It's really independent of your pedaling influences. And that also makes it really easy to tune. It's not just for like the best downhill riders or like enduro racers, but also for just an avid mountain biker. Anyone can really enjoy this really good suspension.
Great to hear from the Giant team there about the critical suspension design detail on this bike. But I want to turn our attention now to some equally important details of this bike, and that is the geometry. So we're talking about the head angle, the wheelbase, the bottom bracket height, and also the chainstay. Now, these are details which allow to get a really well-balanced bike in descending. Geometry it's an art and a science, isn't it? It's a complex beast, isn't it?
And it gets more and more complex with all the flip chips and we now have a flip chip headset, like a reach adjust headset. So it gets, the geometry tables or charts get bigger and bigger. Firstly, it's adjustable through its electronics. So the display, the remotes, those are fully adjustable. But then on the geometry, you can have a low, a medium, or a high setting on the suspension, basically, or the bottom bracket height. And that gives you quite a difference in ride feel or in head tube angle. And then for your fit, basically, you can adjust the headset for your reach numbers, so to get your handlebar further out or closer towards you. So we have, both on the electronics, basically the suspension or the right handling, and then your body position or fit really have adjustability built in through the entire bike.
So up front, we've got a head angle which is adjustable from 63.1 to 63.9 degrees. I mean, those are proper descending numbers there. And then we've got the rear, the three-way adjust in terms of the height of the bottom bracket and the rear of the bike here. So that can give you an adjustability, which means a really aggressive downhill bike. Or maybe if you're going to take the Reign E Plus into more of an adventure scenario, you might want to raise it a little bit for the rock clearance in those really technical climbs. But moving on to the frame itself, I just want to draw your attention to three things which are quite important if you're going to be spending a lot of time in rocks such as this, descending. So you've got a really durable down tube cover on the bike, a titanium integrated bash guard. Really love that feature. There's also an MRP chain guide here, which has been custom made for this bike. And then it's just the chainstay protection in this part of the bike here, which is going to give it lots of durability, along with the component parts which are part of the package. So it's beginning to take shape now, just how much this bike is built for gravity.
Before talking about just the drivetrain or brakes or suspension parts, we talk about the protection parts of the bike. So with this bike, you know, making sure that there's a really beefy down tube battery cover protector, for example, that, you know, has some of what we learned from chainstay protectors, for example, in silencing effect. So to make it not only protected, but also, you know, a nice experience when you're riding. But really, I think when we look at the bottom of the bike is where we built in like a titanium skid plate, and we worked with MRP on that active bash guard design that is suspended on its own. And those kind of protection parts, I think, become more relevant on a bike like this, where it's about descending capability. And it's far less about the drivetrain parts or, you know, the typical things you may look at a spec sheet. And it's more like, what are the actual parts that are worth developing and putting your money in to make sure that the bike, you know, stays intact when you really put it through its paces.
Let's talk Giant.
Got a cross in the sky.
Yeah, you're gonna get a tattoo of that as well.
No, it's going to get a photo of it, you weird
Let's talk about Giant's downhill heritage. You know, Miles Rockwell is your teammate.
2000 world champion on the ATX1. Yes, yeah. Milo. that made that bike even more iconic.
There you go, ATX1. I mean, what a bike. I mean that was it was one of my first downhill bikes. I had the ATX 990, I had the ATX1. When I got the ATX1, I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
First time I'd ever got on a downhill bike, my best overall World Cup season.
Was it?
Yeah, well, because it rained in Kaprun and I was getting a load of heat about I only won because it rained. I was quite angry in '97, and I got on 5 of the 7 or 5 of the 8 podiums that year and was second overall going into Kaprun, but had an altercation with a young lady till about 6 in the morning, quite a lot of drink.
On the boom bar?
Outside the boom bar. And then I remember Johan kicking my foot at about 7. I'd just got in bed and I'd had a big crash. I was stuck to the sheet. Come on, Rob, big day, this is it. And I didn't do any practicing. I got 67th or something in qualifying. I was so hungover. And I did actually push on in the final and try, and I ended up, I think, 45th. And he was so disgusted, Johan, that he left me with my bags in the finish area.
Your commentary of Danny Hart.
Yeah.
World Championships on the Giant Glory. Was it the Glory?
It would have been one of the early glories, yeah. And
yeah,
I mean,
2011.
Yeah, that's right. And it is, I mean, we've all seen it last few weeks, the greatest downhill race run of all time, right? That is, how can you win a race where everyone is all in for one run? How do you win that by 12 seconds, 11, 12 seconds? That was insane.
But I think what we're saying is, you know, Giant's history, you got the...
They won Rampage too, Vassorgi, don't forget, like, they've done it all.
Wow.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the bikes, ATX 990, you got the ATX1, the Glory, the Giant DH Team, was it? I can't remember what that was called.
After the Glory, after the ATX1, it went to the DH Team in 2000 or 2001, a bike I never actually got on with, even though when I rode it for that, I did a retro film last year and I rode it, bloke had it as it was, and actually it probably was ahead of the ATX1. It had a bit more travel.
What year was that?
2000, 2001. We rode that ATX1 for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I will never ever.
Bring it up.
I will never ever forget there was a very famous downhill family, and you literally gave the father all guns going out to Fort William Pits.
There was a bit of a backstory to that. He'd made a couple of. It was competitive, I get it, but he said something to me that he shouldn't have done as I was going for my race run. I took that anger up in the lift. I took it down the race run as well, and the race run didn't go well. So I ended up waiting for him in the car park, and he was coming my way, and I hid behind this truck, and I don't know if I was going to lump him or not, but it would have been close, and if there'd been any backs yet, I'd have definitely would have been trouble. And then he didn't come, and I looked round again, and he'd got in a van with Mark Beaumont's dad, who saw me and went, oh, and drove over, and then I saw him in there, and it wasn't nice what I said to him. I said, if you ever do that again, la, la, la. Yeah. Anyway, the long and short of it is that apparently no one in that van said a word until they got to Shrewsbury.
I was actually in the back of that van.
Is that true about the silence?
Yeah.
You were in the back of that van?
I was in the back of the van.
No, you were not. That's amazing. Was it one of my best moments ever?
Brilliant, it was brilliant. It
was proper, wasn't it, really?
I was like, that is a moment in downhill time which I will never forget.
And to be clear, it was at the time I was feisty. The bloke in question, who's going to remain nameless, I get on very, very well with him and the whole family. It was just a racing thing. And I get it, mate. He was giving me some shit. He wanted his kids to do good. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not having that. You know, it's racing. I leave all that there because it's racing. If it wasn't racing, it'd be different, but that's how it is.
I guess the bottom line is...
So funny, eh?
Is you meant it. When you're racing, you mean it and you want it, right?
I meant it when I saw him in the front of that van and all. Which, was it 5-6 hours?
It was at least south of Glasgow, put it that way. God, let's move on down this hill.
Yeah, come on then. I think my disc's loose.
But what about the motor side of things?
Honestly, where won't that take you? They're like a mountain goat. You can go up anything, you can go anywhere, and that is pretty exciting.
But it didn't go so well last time out, did it?
Where, in the forest?
Yeah.
What, when I went down that hill, you wouldn't? You wouldn't go down it, would you?
I wouldn't, because it was just too wet. I ain't doing it. No, I'm doing it. I'm taking 5.
No, Jonah!
I am taking 5. Okay, there, and up to you then.
Yeah, that's better. Down here.
Oh, off.
Turning up that was easy as well. But
are you serious?
What, round there and up that? I could do that with my eyes closed. Dude, through here, along here, turning and back up there to crest the mountain like a champion.
That is hard.
You'll make it, come on. Section 1, Steve Jones, up the steep bit. He is not scared, it's good line. He's done it, I told you it was easy. I told you it was easy. I told you it was easy. Oh, he's only gone and cleaned it. Oh, and he actually did it nice. Yeah, that was quite good. Now we're going to find out how crap I am at e-bike trials.
Thing is, right, that's what I spend all my time doing.
Do ya?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's hard, that was.
I'll clean it.
You're a national trials winner.
Twice. Southern Experts twice. But yeah, I got this.
Take your time there.
Oh, you didn't bloody get away then. You went up that steep bit, didn't you? It was clever. See, now I am nervy. The pressure is on, but this will be easy.
I think he's rushing it. Nice, nice.
Reset on the pedals.
Nice. He's got it. He's got it.
Whoa! Woo! Got a good clean.
Gotta be happy with that.
Hey, that was good on the back wheel there. Oh yeah! Woo-hoo!
Well, some good fun on the rocks there. Just want to take a moment to ponder about the e-bike system. Now, this is obviously the flagship bike, but I just want to point out there's actually other great e-mountain bikes in the giant rain. Me and Louis behind the camera spend a lot of time in the mountains of northwest Scotland on some pretty, actually very extreme climbing terrain. So I think just want to point out that, you know, for many riders, there's a lot of fun to be had in going up as well as going down. And this bike can deal with some very technical uphill terrain. And that's partly because of the new Generation 2 sync drive system. So what they've done with this is, they've taken a great system and made it even better. So it's a lot smoother, it's a lot more integrated in the design. So for example, the remote is an improvement on the previous one. The top tube display is an absolute work of art. It is so sleek, it's amazing. So like I said, they've taken a great system and they made it better. Other things which people are talking about at the moment is the fact that it's now 48 volt, which means when you do come to the extreme climbing situations, you can sustain that higher peak power for longer. So like I said, it's already 90 Newton meters and 800 watts, which makes it one of the strongest systems on the market.
It's like just riding downhill. You don't need a truck, you've got a shuttle, you're riding it. And like the other day I met Wynne down in the Surrey Hills. Honestly, in 3 hours, we did 18 runs, right? We had done 18 runs. The only thing that stopped us doing more was we were out of battery, because I'm full power everywhere, of course.
We wanted to make sure that this bike had that level of higher power. But the way in which we did that on this bike is by going for a 48 volt system. And that is really what allowed us, so that's 30% more than 36 volt, right? And so that allowed us to go from 600 watts to 800 watts. And by doing it through the voltage, you're not stressing the system as much. And so you still retain, a really good durability of the battery, but more important, on your ride, you don't have that overheating effect as much if you do it by voltage. Our batteries, pretty much across all our models, are rated to last for 2,300 full charge cycles. So that is 10 years or more for most riders. And we like that kind of durability. And so if you're looking at this full power, of course you're stressing batteries more. If we were to have done that, like getting a high torque or high discharge out of a 36 volt system, we would have had to take a compromise in what you see with other systems that maybe they have a 500 or an 800 charge cycle on the battery. That means that if you're an average rider, you ride 2 or 3 times a week, your battery is kind of toast in 2 or 3 years. We didn't want to be that company. We decided that let's not go that route and let's make sure that we have a technology that allows us a full power system, but in a more sustainable way.
So what you got is a 560 in the down tube, 280 as a range extender. So what you've got the option for there is to have, 840 max, or possibly, what's 560 plus 560? 1120, is it? So you can have a bike which is great for the bike park. So what you might do is you'd run your 560, you'd come down for lunch, and you'd maybe put another 560 in, or might want to go for a big ride with 840 watt hours. So you do that configuration. So I really like the fact that you can do lots of different things with this bike, because let's face it, if you're going to be in the bike park, you probably do want a bike which is leaning more towards, 22 kilos than 24. That's if you spend lots of time in the air or doing whips or things like that. Things that I don't do. What's the best combination? Great suspension and average tyres, or average suspension and great tyres? Do you know what? I would choose great tyres every day of the week, because they are so important on an EMTB for climbing and descending. Fortunately, this bike has both great tyres and great suspension, but the Rain E Plus goes one step further, and it gives you an indication whether you have the correct tyre pressure when you start the bike up. I mean, it is an amazing feature, because tyre pressure is so critical to giving you great traction and control in a downhill scenario, obviously uphill as well. So I think that feature is a really cool part of this bike. So with everything set up, time to drop in. So, Giant Rain, E+, fine-tune, evolution, call it what you will.
Giant Rain Advanced E+.
Sorry. The bottom line is it goes downhill really well. doesn't it? As demonstrated by Warner.
Well, I don't know about that, but I hadn't ridden that bike before today, and I felt instantly comfortable on it. Like I could go as hard as I did on the old Rain E, and it was just easier. You do notice that extra 10-minute travel as well in the 184. Honestly, you wouldn't think it, but I definitely do. But you know, on these rocks, when you're going down steep stuff, that's always been a bit of a problem on an e-bike, especially if you've got to pick the front up. You know, the battery's at the front, it's hard to get the front up, and I noticed on that it's not. That, you know, is a full power e-bike that is riding like a bicycle. It's mint, it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's it, because like lots of e-mountain bikes at the moment, everyone thinks an e-bike is just an e-bike and it needs to be 150, 160. But you know what? I think just messing about at the end of the day proves that, you know, there's so much more to e-mountain biking, isn't there?
You can say what you want about it, right? But the simple fact is that I would not be sat here and I would not have had an amazing afternoon out with my mate in the middle of nowhere today, unless it was,
It's nice to say.
Yeah, well, unless I was on an e-mountain bike. Yeah. Like, I would not ride a mountain bike except in a park with an uplift if I didn't. So I'd lose all this natural riding, that would be gone.
Yeah.
And that would be a shame, because that's why I got into mountain biking, to be in the wilderness, to be in the middle of nowhere on my own. I love it. And that ain't changed, it just now requires less effort, so it's way better.
I tell you what.
That's how it is.
I tell you what, it's a beautiful bit of rock here, isn't it?
Lovely, isn't
that
it?
is nice rock, isn't it?
It's grippy, mate.
It's lovely, isn't it?
I knew I wasn't going to wheel spin.
Yeah. Folks, hey, listen, we've spent a lot of time on this bike the last 3-4 days, so if you've got any questions, we're probably one of the few people who've spent time on it, so...
Yeah, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful light. It's amazing. Yeah, I like it.
So let us know any questions you've got, whether it's down to the EMTB drive unit or the battery or the app. Haven't spoken too much about the app, but
yeah,
we can give you all the
do a lot
answers.
with the app actually on them, and yeah.
Overrun,
I leave mine standard though. I don't mind the zones where they are. To be honest, they work well, but you can mess about with everything. Yeah.
Rob, thanks so much for coming to the sun.
It wasn't too bad, was it?
Yeah.
Should we go and get a drink?
Yeah. So.